Training for busy athletes. Do you often find it really hard to find the time to fit in your training? Now, this may ebb and flow. There's obviously times where you might have plenty of time, no issues, can come in, train for as long as you like, no need to rush. And sometimes life gets a little bit busy and you've got to find a way to get your training in, whether that's going to the gym, going to the track, getting the work done. I'm going to give you a few strategies to help you find the time when you're at your busiest. Now, the first thing that you need to do is work out your priorities. So there's a fun kind of way to do this, and it's called the time jar. So this is an analogy or an exercise. So the way you want to think about this is think of a glass jar, and in this jar is your life, like what you do in your life. The jar represents time. Now, the way you fill the jar is how you spend your time. So the first thing that you fill your jar with is rocks. So rocks, these are the big things in your life. These things might be like family, partners, friends, work, study. They're going to take up the majority of the space in the jar. The next thing that will fit in there is pebbles. These are a bit smaller. They still might be important to you, but if a rock comes along, the rock takes over and the pebble gets pushed aside. These things might be like socializing and maybe sport. The last thing is sand. Sand fills in those last little bit of gaps. This is the last little bit of your time. This might be things like, spare time or leisure time that you like to do for yourself. This might be where training fits for you. It might be relaxing, might be playing video games, it might be watching TV. Now, the examples I've given, they're going to differ depending on who you are. Some people might have training as a massive rock. Some people might have, relaxing as a massive rock. They might have friends as sand. They put their friends on a back burner. And it will depend. And it also depends on the time of your life as well. It's going to change. Your priorities will change. They're not going to stay fixed. So what I encourage you to do is actually find some time, sit down, 5 to 10 minutes, and think about your current priorities. I say current because they're going to change from time to time, from week to week, day to day, hour to hour. Write down a list of everything that's going on. You might even find it helpful to have like a weekly template, so Monday to Sunday, and then just generally filling in what you do on a Monday. Where do you spend most of your time on a Monday? Or just simply write out a list of things that you do throughout the week. Obviously, this might change a little bit week to week, but there's a lot of common trends and common threads within what you do week to week. Now, next to these things, I want you to write down next to them an R for a rock, a P for pebble, or an S for sand. Now, once you've done this, you can kind of sit back and notice like, okay, well, how many R's do I have versus how many P's versus how many S's? And just have a look at where you're actually spending the majority of your time. You don't necessarily need to critique this at this stage, but just have a look. Okay, so now we can review the time jar a little bit. So in general, most people have 3 to 4 rocks and maybe 3 to 4 pebbles, and the rest is sand. If you're going any more than 4 rocks, so 4 big things in your life, this is where we get the common spinning too many plates at once, where you can definitely do that many rocks, but the quality that you spend doing those rocks, the quality isn't there. You're having to run yourself so thin. So instead of doing one thing exceptionally well, you're doing many things kind of okay, or maybe many things poorly. Have a think about that. Are there any pebbles or sand taking up more time than there need to be? Are there any rocks that should be pebbles, and vice versa? And where does your training fit in all of this? Now, if you're having trouble finding the time to train, it's likely that training is actually sand for you at the moment, okay? This means you've probably got an hour, maybe 2 hours a week up your sleeve if it's still sand to get some training in. You might not even have that much. Having said that, 45 minutes a week could be as simple as 3 times 15-minute sessions. Yeah, 45 minutes a week is all you need, and 45 minutes is maybe all you have. It's still better than 0 minutes per week. Okay, scheduling. So now that you know how much time that you can commit to your training, I want you to sit down and check out your calendar. Now, if you already don't use a calendar to schedule your life, I highly suggest you get one. Whether that's a simple app on the phone, you're using a software on your computer, or it's as simple as a whiteboard at home with a weekly planner on it. I highly suggest just planning and scheduling out your week so you know what you're doing from a day-to-day perspective. So grab your calendar, and you've probably already got things in there like study and work and all those kinds of things. All right, I want you to have a look and potentially pick out some times where you might like to train or where you feel like you have the time to train. Now I want you to block that time out. Specifically put in your calendar, workout. It seems so simple, but it is highly effective. If you're planning out the rest of your day and you adhere to those time frames and schedules, why wouldn't it be exactly the same for your workouts? Factor in maybe travel time as well. If you're going to go to a gym, if it's at home, there you go, you're saving yourself a little bit of time. Alrighty, the next thing is mindset. It's really important to get your mindset around this busy time. It's going to change, it's going to be different to when you have a lot of time in the world. So one of the things is managing your own expectations. Have you ever said, what's the point of training if I can't do it all properly? Well, yeah, fair enough. You're probably not going to break any world records if you're only training 45 minutes a week, but those 45 minutes are going to make you better than if you did nothing. So maybe your progress might not be getting any better or making leaps and bounds, but it won't be getting any worse. The next one is kind of feeling like training is a chore. Now, when you're really busy, you might see that training is like one of the things to do on your to-do list. Instead, what I want you to think, I want you to reflip this mindset into, okay, I get to train and I get to actually take some time out from my busy schedule. So this is actually going to be 30, maybe 45 minutes for myself, away from all the other things that I have to do or that are on my to-do list. And ideally, if you've scheduled your training in properly, maybe you're doing it at the start of the day to set up your day, to have a really productive day, or you're doing it at the end of the day when you've completed everything. So this is simply not even the last thing to do on your list, but you've completed everything. This is almost your reward. Okay, cool, now I can train because I've done everything. Okay, now we're looking at how to create effective workouts. So there's ways to kind of structure your workouts to save time. So there's things like supersets, which is simply just pairing exercises together. For example, maybe doing a bench press and a chin up and just going back and forth between the two, or a set of squats and then a set of push-ups. You can complete circuits. You can do your training as a circuit. So if you've got 5 exercises, and instead of doing all sets of one thing at a time, you could complete it as a circuit where you might go squat, push-up, plank, inverted row, hamstring bridge. That's one set, and then start again, and you complete them in order. Complexes, which are pretty similar to circuits, but they're usually done just with one barbell or one pair of dumbbells. So this might look something like a bent over row into an RDL, so you don't have to put the barbell down, into a hang clean, into a push press, into a back squat. And that might be one circuit of the complex. You put the bar down, have a rest, and then go again. Another thing is minimal equipment. Using less equipment can save time. There's no setup time and packing away time. So using things like bodyweight exercises, skipping ropes, and just running. So here's a couple of examples of what you could do from a programming point of view that are nice and quick, but yet super effective. So a good power and speed workout Could be a nice little A1, A2 superset and then a B1, B2 superset. Probably take 30 minutes max. So you might do a heavy sled push with 30% of your body weight for 10 meters. And then straight after that, a 10-meter sprint. You might do 3 sets of that, having a rest in between your sets. That'll probably take 10 to 15 minutes. Then we might switch to a hang clean for a set of 3. It's about 70% of your max. And then a vertical jump. Still getting a really good speed and power stimulus, but you're only going to do those 4 exercises for that workout. Another one that combines strength and fitness is completing 3 rounds of 8 kettlebell swings, 10 pull-ups, and then 2 minutes on the assault bike, followed by a 2-minute rest. That's going to take less than 15 minutes total. You're building a little bit of strength with the swings and the pull-ups, but you're also incorporating some fitness work through the assault bike. And the whole thing is kind of done as a mini circuit or interval training, which helps you improve your fitness. The last one could be as simple as a bodyweight strength circuit, where you just go, right, plank, push up, hamstring bridge, inverted table rows, and lunges. Minimal equipment. They all follow a nice order. You do it as a circuit 3 times through. 30-second plank, 10 push-ups, 10 hamstring bridges, 10 rows, 10 lunges. That'll probably take you 10 minutes max. So there's a couple of different strategies. If you're ever really struggling for time to fit in your training sessions, I encourage you to still find something. Do something. It's always better than nothing. Don't give up your gym membership. Don't give up your ambitions to train. There's always a way. There's always a way. Having said that, sometimes life does get in the way and you do need to prioritize your training over some bigger things. Thanks.